Hello, everybody. Welcome. If you have the ability to put your camera on, we'd love to see your beautiful face. Love it. Hello, Miss Melissa, Mr. Sky. Hello, everybody. Miss Herbert, Mr. Hill. Got Riley on the call. Love it. And if you can rename yourself, I know a lot of you sometimes will have your school name on. If you hover over your face, there's 3 little dots in the top right-hand corner. You can do this on mobile as well. And just rename yourself so we don't have to call you by your school name. All right. What did I tell you, Mr. Hamm, about my Facebook messages? They're blowing up right now. Some people wanting the link. So I'm going to take care of them, get them in here. Awesome. Very cool. Mr. Diamore. Mr. Diamore just got onboarded with GrowPro. Welcome, sir. Danny Ruiz. What? I'm honored to see some of these. They don't show up for me, Mr. Hamm, but they're showing up for you. That says something.
I love it. This is awesome.
All right, guys. So do me a favor real quick, because if you've ever been on a webinar with me, you know it's not just sitting back and relaxing, right? I'm going to make you think. I'm going to make you participate. We're going to make you engage in the chat box. So everybody just do me a favor real quick. And can you drop in the chat how long you have owned the school, or if you're a team member, how long you've worked at the school. So just let me know how many years have you owned your school, or if we have program directors, instructors on here. I know I see Jenya on here. Welcome. Let us know how long you've worked there. All right. Just celebrated 8 years. Congrats, Bridget. Awesome. 13 years, 23 years. I think that's the current 22, 28, Mr. Sky. Awesome. 30th year, Mr. Walker. Congratulations. 33, 32. Man, I was barely walking back then. That's awesome. All right, guys. Let's dive in, because I want to make sure we have the full allotment of time. So we've got Mr. Chris Hamm on this call. He actually had reached out to me, really wanting to, I think we all would agree that leadership and developing leadership teams is something that a lot of schools struggle with. I mean, that's why there's, school owners have been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years, and they're still on the mat. And hey, if that's what you want, and that's like your zone of genius, that's awesome. But if it's not what you want, then that's not awesome. And Mr. Hamm and his wife, Amanda, who are on, Mrs. Hamm, they both own 2 locations in Texas called Legacy Martial Arts. So they've been GrowPro clients for a few years. They're part of the Maya Elite family. And the session that he has put together today is jam-packed. You're going to need a pen and paper or iPad or a Word document, because you're definitely going to want to take notes. And when he originally sent me over what he wanted to cover, I was like, sir, there's no way we're going to get through that in an hour. So he scaled it back a little bit, but totally over-delivered, so much that he even made a workbook for you guys. So I'm going to drop that link here in a second. And this entire presentation will also be recorded and uploaded to the GrowPro website before the end of business today. So if for any reason you have to hop off, or you just want to watch the replay, because it's going to be so jam-packed, you will have the opportunity to do that. Okay. So really appreciate Mr. Hamm doing this. This is straight up just because he wants to help, right? Like, he's not a consultant of any kind. Like, he wants to help. He's not a consultant yet, I should say. Right? There we go. So in the drive here, or in the chat box, there's a link to the Google Drive. This is the Leadership Dream Team workbook. So if you want to go ahead and click that, you can download it, have it in front of you. This is going to go off of a part of his presentation here. Obviously, if you're driving, you don't have the ability to do that. We will link this on the replay as well. So when we send the replay email out, you'll get access to this. And if Mr. Hamm's okay with providing the slides, we can do that as well. Sir, you got 55 minutes. Passing the mic to you. Let's rock and roll.
All right. Man, I am so excited for everybody to be a part of this. And I've got a lot of gratitude I got to extend to a couple people on here, mainly, of course, Cris, for letting me get on here and share with all of you. And my wife, who's also on here, she helped develop a lot of this. I cannot say enough good things about her. But of course, all of you guys that are sitting here as well. So thank you so much for being a part of it. I want to dive right in. I practiced this thing multiple times, and man, I just could not shave it down below 55 minutes. So I'm going to do everything I can to help you guys out. Imagine for a moment that you've got a group of 12 or 13-year-olds and you say, man, that kid's going to be amazing on the floor. I'm going to hire them. They're going to be a chief instructor. They're going to run a school for me in 10 years, right? And you don't really have that plan to get them to that level. My job today is to give you the structure and everything you need to go from taking a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old who has great potential all the way to staff, chief instructor, running in the school you've got, or maybe another school later on. And I have to make one minor correction on what Cris said earlier. We are actually building out school number 3 right now. I've already got the team set up. They're already trained up and ready to go, and they're going to hit the ground running. I think a 200-student school right out of the gate, I think is what we're going to do. But anyways, that's enough bragging on me. I'm going to go ahead and dive right in, guys. So if you are on desktop, get ready to take some notes. If you're on mobile, I'm sorry, it might be a little hard to see, but I'm going to do my best. All right, thumbs up if you can see my slideshow. Cool, thank you, awesome. All right, guys, there we go. Okay, so here's my story, my legacy real quick at the top. I've got my 3 wonderful children. And then at the bottom, I want you to kind of just, if you can read that, I just finished out Q1 with the 2 schools. This was the first new year. We did our second school. Its first full year was last year. So this is the start of the second year. Between the 2 schools, we made $250,000 in sales. And the coolest thing about what I'm going to say about that part is that I have not taught a class since 2021. I haven't been on the floor, haven't done anything other than just help my team be the best that they can be, and they did that without me. But what I wanted to really focus in on is my little girl here in the top left. This is Ella. She's my middle child, and what happened was back when she was born 8 years ago, she was born 5 weeks early. She couldn't breathe on her own, and right after the labor and delivery, then she was taken to the NICU, the neonatal ICU. And I thought the only thing I could think of was I got to get back on the floor. I got class tonight, right? My wife's there in the hospital. My daughter's in the NICU. And I just kept thinking I got to go teach class because I don't have anyone to run the classes for me. And so I ran to the school, pretended like nothing was wrong, ran all the classes. And people later, they came back and they said, wow, I can't believe you were going through so much. And yet you taught classes like nothing was happening. You're so strong. And I looked at it, I was like, man, I am so strong. Look at me. And then I was building this presentation out and I said, I'm going to tell a story about this other thing. And my wife goes, no, you got to tell the story about Ella. I said, why? She goes, because you left me in the hospital with the daughter in the NICU to go teach classes because you didn't have a team. And I went, oh my God, that is exactly what happened. I didn't even think about it until you brought it up, till my wife brought it up. And so this was kind of the point where she pushed me to create a leadership team and a leadership program to get more people on the floor, because that was never going to happen again. So fast forward to 3 years ago when my son was born, I got a team. I get to spend every day with him, pick him up from school, and I stay home and I watch Paw Patrol or Spidey and his amazing friends. So this is the why of what I do. And of course, all those people down there in the bottom left, that's my team, who all know that they have a career in the martial arts because of the program we provide. So I got some goals for you guys today. Goal number 1, level up by at least 1 step in your leadership program. Wherever you're at, I'll explain the steps in a minute. I want to help you get up 1 step above where you're at or more. Number 2, create a clear vision of where your program is headed by defining your goals. The goals, the success is defined differently for each school and each team. And so I want you to know what your goals are so that way we can move you forward along that path. And number 3, start the process of integrating your program into every facet of your school. When we were developing this, I came across Dave Kovar's systems. Guys, I cannot say enough good things about Mr. Kovar's systems. They're amazing for helping build instructors and team members. But the thing that I saw that was lacking was how to integrate that into everything else in your school so that it's presented up front for every student, every customer, every parent, every person that watches your class. And so that's the other goal that I have for you guys today. Just in case you were kind of on the fence about developing a leadership program, and just in case my story about my daughter didn't drive you over that edge, I want to make sure that you know why your students need the leadership program. Developing leadership skills also develops, man, I got a whole list here: confidence, connections, work ethic, empathy, dedication, focus, so much. And it doesn't stop inside your dojo or your dojang or your school, right? All of these skills are things they're going to take outside. Very quick story. I had a student that went through our leadership program, and he went to school and they asked for volunteers for new students that were transferring in. He was a 6th grader, and he said, I want to volunteer to be an ambassador for new students coming in. And he walked in there, volunteered that first day, and they brought somebody new in, and he immediately walked up, looked at this kid right in the eye, shook hands, said, hi, my name is Grant. It's nice to meet you. How are you? And the teachers all went, what just happened? We have to teach these kids how to do this. How did you already know that? He goes, leadership. So he understood how to step out there, how to make eye contact, how to shake hands, how to greet others, how to lead them around the school because of what he does through our program. This is not stuff that stops in your school, guys. Students can see a clear path up to and beyond black belt. I love when I walk into a school, it says we are a black belt school. For me, what's that mean? That's the end game, right? For what we do, we say we are a leadership school because leadership has no end. We constantly push them to go further in their leadership development. Leadership programs develop self-worth and value, of course, the #1 preventative measure against bullying and suicide. So we want to help build their self-worth to help them step out and go beyond bullying and hopefully never have those thoughts of suicide. Building even a weak program now, a weak leadership program now leads to strong bench strength later. So plant your seeds, guys. We're going to do it today, and then you can reap the rewards, eat in the future, right? All right, so here's some things I want to cover, and then I'm going to take a quick breath because, man, I'm going 100 miles an hour, and I know that's how I roll. But
and
so
Mr. Hamm, just real quick,
go.
let's just get some feedback from the audience. How many of you, yes or no, have a and maybe put like kind of, if it's not super solidified, right? Have a leadership program that is producing instructors in your school? Yes, no, kind of. All right, we're getting yeses, couple of no's, kind of. I figured there'd be quite a few kind ofs, which I think is, you know, really great for everybody to get some direction in this. Yes, still developing. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Go ahead, sir.
You got it. Thank you. And that's exactly what Cris told me she was going to do today was calm me down and call in for some engagement. So here's another piece of engagement that I wanted to look at. I'm going to cover more about what those numbers on the left-hand side mean. Just remember your number. But let's say you've got some concerns or pain points. For instance, #1, if I get sick, I go on vacation, have an emergency, the school's got to close. That means you're at level 1. We're going to talk about that in a second. Parents or students complain when I put another instructor in charge. They don't teach like you. This is the one that I heard a lot of. It's not the same. When are you coming back in to teach? You constantly have to hold their hand. So read through those real quick. If you're on desktop, just kind of skim through and kind of pick out a number that's next to yours. What do you think? I'll give you about 5 seconds. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide and explain what those numbers mean. So if you've ever read Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership, there are 5 levels to get to what they call the pinnacle, where people will follow you and the people below you because you've generated more leaders, right? It's called scaling. That's what I went ahead and put this into how the terms fit in a martial arts school. So the very first one, position of leadership, is where you are a solo school owner. People walk in, they follow you on the floor because you're the one wearing the black belt. You're the one that is up front teaching, so they do follow you. The next one is called permission. The students follow you because they want to follow you. But what that means in a martial arts school is that you've got a few dedicated guys, maybe older teenagers, younger adults, even maybe somebody that's retired that's like, hey, if you got to take a break for a day, I can fill in. And they just volunteer their time. So you've got some support, right? Number 3 is going to be succession. This is where you actually have a line behind you. You have yourself or your chief instructor, whoever that is that's teaching, and then the next person that you know, if you have to step off the floor, they're going to take over. And if they have to step out, you got the next person in line that's going to take over. So there's a very clear line of succession. The next one, the one that I really want you all to get to, is systemize. Systemize means you have a clear set of lessons that you can teach others to help them become better leaders. And it doesn't matter if they can go ahead and teach the next generation, as long as you are there helping them grow. But if you want to scale, that's level 5. Scaling is where you get to open up multiple schools, or you can be on vacation in Cancun and somebody else is growing your leaders. So Pinnacle, they follow you because of the leaders that you generated below you, who are also generating more leaders below them. All right, so this is the scale. This is what I want you guys to be thinking about. Where am I and where am I headed? What do I want to ultimately achieve? If you want to stop at 4, that's great. If you want to scale up to 5, that's fantastic. My job is to help you move up that ladder. I'm gonna take a deep breath. Kind of got an idea of what number you could be. So this is where I was going to stop for engagement. If you know already by looking at that scale what number you are, let me know in the chat. What number do you feel like you're at right now? Now, unfortunately, the way my screen is set up, I actually cannot see what your chat is. What do you see, Chris? What's going on?
Yeah, we're getting, I mean, all over the place, from 1s all the way up to a handful of 5s. I'm seeing a lot of 4s though. 4s seem to be probably, you know, a good majority of the amount. If you are looking at Zoom and it's full screen for you, Mr. Hamm, if you hit the escape button, it will get out of full screen, and then you should be able to, at the top, see the chat. If you click on chat, you might be able to.
Oh, there it is.
Got there you go. Okay. Boom. Man,
right.
I absolutely love how you broke this down. So, I mean, huge John Maxwell fan. I dropped the link to the Amazon book if you guys want to get this. He took that book and he said, okay, how do I implement this for martial arts schools? And I just absolutely love how you broke this down. This is top notch right here, sir. Let's keep going.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, so because there were so many 4s in there, I'm assuming some of you are joining in with me because you want to get up to a 5. I do have to go over those lower levels. So for those of you who are at 1 or 2 and you want to move up, let's go over some really key strategies for you guys, okay? The first one is what I like to call the clone effect. So this guy here, this is Mr. Davis. He is the one that essentially replaced me. He just celebrated his 5th year anniversary with Legacy Martial Arts. And he said this is a career because he loves it. And that's the thing that his dad said, is that it's not a job if you love it, it's a career. And so when I kind of picture out now who I want to clone to be the leadership program, it's going to be this guy. But let's be honest, he's kind of a clone of me, because when I was developing him as an instructor, he grew into being a clone of myself. And now I want to clone him onto everybody else. So you kind of think about it. This is where the workbook comes in. So I have on the worksheet, I believe, if I X out here, there we go. So on the worksheet, I have the 5 levels here, and then I'm going to move something, maybe. There we go. All right. So on a number 2, page 2, on the worksheet, this is exactly what I'm about to go over. So who exemplifies your culture? Who is the person that if you were to clone them, they would be the one that would replace on the floor, that you could lead up to the next level, right? Let me get back on. There we go. All right. So what are you going to clone? I need you to clone the physical characteristics. Now, imagine this. If you're a jiu-jitsu school, you're not going to have the same kind of physical characteristics that a taekwondo school is going to have, that a karate school is going to have. So we specifically train in taekwondo. So my guys who I'm looking for physical characteristics, I'm looking for people who can use those legs to kick, who can move quickly with their feet, their footwork, people who stand up tall. I'm looking for different physical characteristics. So what else do they need? Do you want somebody who is more stern? Do you want somebody who is more energetic and loud? Do you want an extrovert, looking at personality characteristics? Do you want an introvert? Do you want somebody who works really well with kids? Or are you mainly a school for adults? Do you want somebody that works well with adults? So who or what are they going to look like if you could clone them? My final category is going to be superpowers. This is going to be, for instance, Mr. Davis here. The kids absolutely love him. I cannot tell you how many kids have said to their moms and dads have told me, my kid wants to be just like Mr. Davis when he grows up, right? I'm sure you got those instructors, or maybe you are that person yourself. So is it the kids or is it the adults that connect with? Do they have a point and go kind of attitude? Like, hey, I need you to do this, boom, they get it done, right? So what aspects does that person have that you want to clone? That's going to come back a little bit later as we're developing the lessons and moving forward. All right. Now the next one's going to be we're going to call it a headcanon slide. All right, you guys know that term, headcanon, where I just kind of blow your mind. Lots of information right here. Again, if you are on desktop, you're going to have to kind of zoom in and look. If you're on phone, I'm going to try to read through it pretty quickly. But let's say you're moving from level 1 to level 2, and you need to figure out how you're going to structure your leadership program. You're ready to get this thing rolling. How are you going to structure it out? There's two major ways you can do it: with a boot camp or with a class. And I say boot camp could be a seminar, a workshop, whatever you want to call it, right? Classes are going to help you spread out your information over time. Let's say you do weekly classes, you can spread it all out. Whereas a boot camp is going to take you a little bit less work over time. You're going to have to get ready for that one weekend or whatever, but it kind of explosively gives them all the information they could use. Classes are consistent. Boot camps are more immersive, right? And then classes are going to be regular scheduled, so everybody knows exactly when it's going to be. But boot camps are usually a little bit easier to attend because maybe they're on a weekend and people can schedule out a couple months in advance, right? If you're going from 1 to 2 or maybe even 2 to 3, I suggest using boot camps to start with. But if you're going from 3 to 4, 4 to 5, you need to have a regularly scheduled class. My middle section here, quarterly, monthly, or weekly. If you're doing boot camps, again, quarterly or monthly are going to work for you. But if you're doing weekly, it needs to fit right into your cycles. Now, all right, if you're not using rotating curriculum, I could go on a whole nother hour-long presentation on using rotating curriculum. It's amazing. Look into it. But I would suggest having it fit directly into however you structure your current classes. That way, your leadership program fits right alongside your normal classes, right? And then the last thing to think about when you're thinking about your structure is going to be the requirements. If you are mainly an adult school, I don't suggest opening your leadership program to an 8-year-old. 8-year-olds probably are not going to be able to teach very well in a 17, 18, or 25-year-old class. So just think about it, stuff to think about there. And then the program, will it be attached to another program? For us, we use the Maya systems. There's a basic, a black belt club, and a master club. Our leadership program is not extra beyond the master club, but it is a part of that. So if they upgrade to black belt club and then they upgrade to master club, that is included. They can get their leadership program included with that. If you're not using the Maya systems, please, please, please charge for your leadership program. There's no reason not to. You're going to be putting in a whole lot of work to make this thing run, and it's taking up space on your floor. Please charge for your leadership program. All right. Now, there's a little bit of a caveat there that I'm going to get into in about 2 slides. Okay. I wanted to show you guys again, if you're on desktop, this is going to be a lot of info here, but I really want to direct over to the right. I'm going to gloss over the left. That's going to be something you guys can get later on with the giveaways that I'm going to be giving out. But on the right side here, I have a survey. This is how we qualify our applicants that want to be a part of leadership. So once they make it into Master Club, they fill out the survey. We send them out a link that they go to. It's a quick survey that says, what belt rank are you? What's your name? Are you applying for the demo team or leadership team? And then it's got these little drop down things, 1 to 5. How much do you enjoy helping others? Obviously, if they put a 1, which I prefer to keep to myself, that's not going to be a good fit for leadership. But that doesn't necessarily disqualify them because we can still help them. It just gives us a snapshot of their personality. So keep that in mind. We don't always deny the leadership members based on these answers. We usually just snapshot and take them and help them grow to become better, because maybe they're just not confident with it and they put 1s, right? Maybe they just click the wrong button. So we always qualify them, but this also shows their interest in joining leadership. And if they're going to take that first step, they're going to be willing to move forward. All right. Next thing I want to do with our leadership, show you a quick little picture. Take a deep breath. All right. So this is how we show off our leadership program to the parents, the students, and everybody else. And this is going to help you present the program to those parents when it's time for them to sign up, when you want them to sign up for that program, right? So up in the top right here, you'll see this is my chief instructor of my second school. my own daughter's over here, but there's also this teenager, this young man, this teenager. These are all leadership members that get to stand up there. And what you notice is that my leadership members and my own daughter and my chief instructor, they're all wearing the same type of uniform. Now the back is a little bit different. My chief instructor has a different logo on his than the leadership students. But what this does is it sets those leadership members up front, in front of everybody at a graduation. 500 people are there watching all of these kids, these young 8, 9, 10-year-olds standing alongside the chief instructors. They look the same, they act the same, they're doing the same, right? So this is one of the ways that you can showcase. We also have activities once a quarter where our leadership runs everything. So we've got a spring egg extravaganza, a little egg hunt thing. We've got a Halloween party, and we have all outside games that are run by our leadership team. And you'll see each of these guys has got this this logo on the back. This gentleman here, these guys, they're all out there representing leadership and running these games. And those 5 and 6 and 7 and 8-year-olds are like, man, I want to be just like them when I grow up. And it's helping them extend their skills beyond just the martial arts. So it showcases, it helps them build more confidence, and helps build up your leadership program. So that way those parents aren't able to say, well, what is this leadership program about? Well, you've been seeing it everywhere. You know exactly what it's about. This is a big part of that integration. Also, that was supposed to be a deep breath, but I didn't breathe. So, all right. Cool. One last thing I want you to do, and this is going to sound really weird to put this kind of in the middle or at the beginning of the presentation, but I want you to go ahead and put down a date to schedule when you're going to revamp your program or when you're going to launch it. If you're going from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, you need to launch your program. You need to set a date, because without a deadline, we all know we're not going to do it. Okay. So I'm going to keep moving forward here with how to do it. But right now, take 5 seconds and just put a date down. And if you feel brave, let us know what that date is in the chat box. Tell me what you're going to do, when you're going to do it. I want to see when you're going to revamp your program or when you're going to launch your program.
I absolutely love having this mindset. This is the ready, fire, aim mindset instead of the ready, aim, fire. When I was getting ready to launch the Kids Jits Academy, we had over 300 curriculum videos we needed to film, which was a ridiculous amount of videos. And I knew that I wouldn't get it done unless I put a date out. So I said, okay, February 17th. It was in the middle of January. And now I know, all right, I got to get these videos done because it held us accountable. So absolutely love that mindset. I truly believe the difference between good and great entrepreneurs is speed of implementation. So choose your date, and that's going to force you to implement. And we've got all these comments coming in with people that are committing to it. So absolutely love it.
Perfect. And I love what you said there about the ready, fire, aim. You notice at the very beginning of the presentation, I specifically said, even starting a week program now is going to help you reap those rewards later on, because you're going to keep revamping. You're going to keep building what you start, right? You're not just going to leave it as a little seedling. You're going to keep growing that. So absolutely, this is what I wanted to accomplish. All right. So let's talk about some students and parents' objections and how you're going to overcome them before they ever come up. Because when you say we're going to launch this program, you're going to get some parents like, well, what's it about? What are we doing? Why would we sign up? Maybe you've already got a program and they have no idea that you have this, right? So we need to approach these hopefully before those objections ever come. But I've got a few key pointers here to help you guys with those students and parents and getting those leadership classes filled. By the way, our leadership class, we have 350 students in our normal program at our headquarters location, and we have 25 in our leadership program. So it's not a huge amount, but it is a sizable chunk of the, what is that, about 10, about 8%, right? And so that's kind of what I would suggest is about 8 to 10% if you've got a larger school like that. But first thing, future vision for your parents. When you go to talk to those parents about signing their student up, and mainly, like I said, this is geared towards kids and teens, because you want to get that 13-year-old that's got lots of potential already in your leadership program. So 2 or 3 years later, you got a 16-year-old you can hire, and they teach just like your chief instructor, right? So we're talking to those parents of those teenagers. The very first thing is you need to use the reason they signed up in the first place. So when they sign up, you should be making a note somewhere. This is a Maya system, if you know it, but what they want from your program. Do they want their child to be bully proof? Do they want their child to have more confidence, self-esteem, get some energy out, whatever it might be, right? So whatever reason they gave you when they signed up, it's time. You're going to call that to action, right? You're going to go up to them and say, hey, nothing builds confidence like being out there in front of your peers, showing them that you know your stuff by helping lead them from the front, right? So this is the kind of thing that's going to help those parents go, yeah, that's what I want. Sign me up, right? This isn't about martial arts. This is about growing strong, confident, successful people. Again, that's another thing that I use when I'm talking to those parents about why you should sign up for leadership, because I can teach your kid to be a black belt. I can teach anyone to be a black belt. It's teaching them to be a leader that's going to extend beyond the dojo or the dojang, right? Sample lessons, you can give them some of the things that we go over, how to make a great first impression, how to greet others, the different styles of communication, reacting quickly and problem solving. So each of these things, when you start building out your program, you're like, this is what I want to teach them. This is what I want to teach them. You can go and use that as part of the discussion when you're talking to those parents. I never actually say this word out loud or this phrase out loud, but you got to keep it in the back of your mind. How much is it worth to you as a parent that your child learn these skills? That seems a little, I mean, for me at least, seems a little forward, a little egotistical to be like, well, how much is it worth to you? Because we're going to charge you more, right? So just think about how you could approach that, but keep that in mind. And then do you personally have a clear path of progression? Guys, here on the bottom right, I have what we call the legacy journey, and I am not ashamed to admit that I ripped this right off of Cris. She has a member journey flow chart that inspired me to create this. This is only the top 2 tiers of, I think it's a 7-tier sheet that I made for our teams, and I train them all on this. It gives them a very clear path as they're moving from student all the way through to advanced belt, leader, and eventually heading their own legacy martial arts school. Have a clear path for each of your people that you put up and you go over during training, and they know it exists. So this is a career from the time they turn 12 or 13 years old and they start in leadership until the time they become, like Mr. Davis, 28 years old out here running a school, right? So very much so. I'm sure Cris would be willing to share that, right? You willing to share that one?
Yeah, 100%. It's called the customer journey, guys. I've already done webinars on it, and it's on the GrowPro website, so you can get it there.
There you go. Fantastic. All right. Big thing right here. I want to make sure you guys understand your leadership program. A lot of people say, well, the parents don't want to sign up because why would I pay more or sign up for more to just come in and teach class for you? Right? It sounds a little bit like indentured servitude, right? I don't want to create that kind of mentality. And I want you to know, according to the FLSA, Fair Labor Standards Act, interns, which is essentially what you're creating here, must receive more value than they provide to the company. This is I'm going to say it again, this is kind of a golden one for me. I hope it resonates with you. Your leadership program is almost like an internship program, and those interns must receive more value than they provide to the company. So if right now you are just pulling some guy who's volunteering on the side and being like, yo, come teach class for me, that's kind of toeing the line, guys, especially if you tell them, I need you to teach this class, and you're not paying them for that, then that is definitely toeing the line that I don't want you to cross, all right? So keep that internship mentality, but if you're thinking about that, if I'm giving that leader more value, then I'm doing the right thing. Okay. Leadership students are students first. They're not your assistants to begin with. Okay. They become staff later on. We can work on that. I talked about prestige earlier when I showed you those pictures. How will your leadership students stand out from their peers? How often will they get to be up front? And of course, you got to address this. Will they get to become their favorite instructor, right? Because that's one of those dreams of those kids. They want to be just like Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, right? All right, let's talk about lesson plans for a second. So when you start developing your program, you're going to fit, I would suggest equally, you should fit your lessons into 3 categories. Notice one of the things here you're not ever going to see in a leadership program is how to throw a punch, how to throw a kick, how to do a rear naked choke. You're not going to see any actual martial arts skills in your lessons except to help you get better at whatever that lesson is. Let me explain. So the first one is going to be your martial arts lessons. And in that category, you have things like how to hold pads and shields for kicking and punching, how to break down a specific technique, how to run the warm-ups and the stretches, how to handle some injuries, how to structure your class for a better system, better class. So each of these things are used in your regularly scheduled classes, but that's not about how to do a form, right? This is how to teach someone how to do the form or how to hold the pads for those kicks better, which by the way, you do need to teach your 12 and 13-year-olds how to hold kicking shields if that's part of your curriculum, because if they're holding it wrong, you're going to end up with injuries, right? So this definitely needs to be a part of your lesson plans when you're teaching leadership. The next one's going to be mindset lessons. This is things like defining what is a leader, how to make a great first impression, which, by the way, that's one of my favorite ones. How to make a great first impression, because we cover things like the five senses. Do you smell your best? That's a nice way of telling your teenagers they need to put on some deodorant, right? Or get a mint or whatever else. Do you sound your best? Are you actually drinking water so that way you don't sound all raspy and hoarse, or your voice, is it projecting enough? So these are mindset lessons. Another big one that the parents are really going to love is keeping it clean. I teach 12-year-olds how to clean the bags, how to clean the mats, how to clean the bathroom. And of course, the parents love watching their kids scrub out a toilet. It's amazing. So always something I would suggest teaching in a leadership program in some way. And then, of course, the other ones they're going to take beyond the martial arts is going to be your connection lessons. This is stuff like the learning styles, kinesthetic, audio, visual, how to take a new student from the door to the floor. This is the one that I would say, Grant, that story from earlier, that student that was in 6th grade that brought part of the ambassador program, he knew how to take a brand new student in our dojo because of this lesson and get them onto the floor and participating. Well, all of those skills lined up for him at school as well. How to greet others, shaking hands. Here in Texas, we have the Texas handshake. It's got to be strong, firm, look them in the eyes. I'm sure a lot of you do something similar. So we go over how to greet others because it's a little bit different in martial arts school. You get the both hands in the bow, you know? So lots of different things you can cover. I think on my worksheet, I believe I added a section for that as well. There we go. So section 3, page 3, I gave a few prompters, and then I would love for you to keep writing in or get with your team and write in some more stuff that you really want. Here's that clone effect. You really want to teach people to be just like your chief instructor or yourself. What are some lessons that make you or that chief instructor the best, most amazing rock star on the floor? And then where would those things fall in between teaching them martial arts or mindset or connection, right? So get with your team, write down a few more on there. All right. So I'm going to just gloss over this. This is one of our worksheets that we have, the What is a Leader worksheet. So we have a side for the students to receive. They get a worksheet that's blank, and then during the class time, they'll fill it out. And the instructors, of course, get the one with all the answers in blue, so that way they can guide the students through that. I'll explain a little bit more, but I got to gloss this one because I was told I got not enough time. All right. Next thing, how are you going to integrate your leadership program into your school? So I want you to think about being a white belt again. What is a white belt going to see from your leadership team? Do they see them up front? Do they see them at events? What about intermediates? Do they see them at graduations? Your advanced belts, do they see that as something they could do? What do the parents see about your leadership program? Wow, those 8-year-olds are acting just like chief instructors. Hopefully that's a good thing, right? And then what are your team, your actual martial arts, your staff, what are they going to think about the leadership, and how are they going to see them? Are they helping guide them onto that next level? Your leadership team should be easily recognizable and on display every single day. Like I said, of all the programs, this is the one thing I feel like is missing the most from other leadership programs. How are you going to integrate this into your school? Every facet. They need distinctive uniforms and belts. Our underbelts, meaning anybody under black belt, when they're wearing a leadership uniform, they get a special white and black belt, right? It's half and half, because it shows I'm on the path to being a black belt, but I'm not there yet, but I'm still prestigious enough to be up in front of you teaching this class, all right? Events, how do they show up at seminars, holidays, graduations? Running the bow in and the warm-ups. Guys, your 9-year-olds can run the bow in. It's pretty easy, or warm up or stretches. You can have that leadership team a very first day, they can start running some warm-ups if you have a guide there with them. Leadership level patches on their uniforms, star student positions in their own classes. So this is where you need to be thinking, where can I place these leadership members so everybody can see them all the time? This needs to be the main focus of your school.
Absolutely love this. Let's get some ideas in the chat box here, because Mr. Nolan just said this is the part I need to work on, more visibility, right? Like the same way we want our upgrade programs to be visible everywhere, we need our leadership programs to be visible everywhere. So I'd love to know, what are people currently doing? Put this in the chat. Is there a distinctive uniform? Is there a distinctive belt? Is there a specific patch that they get? Is there, maybe pictures of them up on the wall, right? Just trying to get some ideas here. Let us know in the comments what your leadership, how could we walk into your school and know, okay, those are the kids on the leadership team. So Bridget says we have a board with their pictures and their names at the entrance and a patch. Awesome. Special sleeve on the jiu-jitsu belt. Very cool. Special uniform with a patch, and they stand in a different spot on the floor, kind of like the star student positions Mr. Hamm just said. We schedule our leadership students to help with specific classes every week, distinctive uniforms, SWAT and storm team patches. Love the picture idea. Leadership t-shirt. Seeing lots of really great ideas, guys. So if you didn't have any, you just got an entire chat box full of great ideas that you can do, because again, just like your upgrade programs should be visually everywhere, your leadership program should be as well. Wow, man, this is absolutely amazing. I just want to take a quick pause here because I'm getting a lot of messages like, am I going to get the slides, all of that? I've been taking notes. I'm a 100% a note taker. And for those of you that are looking like, okay, I need a step by step, I've got the first 8 steps lined out for you. So 1, we're going to figure out what stage are you in, number 1 through 5. 2, how are you going to tie it into your program? Is it going to cost extra? Is it going to be tied into an upgrade program like the Masters Club, like Mr. Hamm does? Number 3, provide an application. We got a lot of really great feedback that you guys liked that, right? That they're going to fill out to see if they're ready. 4, you need to showcase your team before you ever present it, right? So how are you showing the parents and the families, like, this is what the leadership team is? 5, schedule your launch. 6, get the students and parents on board. 7, design your lesson plan. And 8, integrate your leaders into your school. All right. So for those of you that are I'm list oriented, right? Like, just give you that bullet point list. You got it right there. Okay. Mr. Hamm, let's go. We got about 20 minutes left, sir.
I'm going. All right. And also, I want to let you guys know at the end of the presentation, I've got my email and you can reach out to me on Facebook Messenger. But I will have a Drive link that will have the presentation in there, as well as a quick launch guide and a few other little freebies and goodies for you guys if you just send that over to me via email. And I'll make sure I'll present that at the end, okay? All right, back on, let's go. Okay. Speaking of, like I just said, I have a quick launch guide for what it looks like for the members, for the leadership members, what your leadership class structure is going to be, a launch checklist. I've got all sorts of goodies that I'm going to be giving away that I just previewed here. Also, I was telling you the logo looks different. So our normal logo has doesn't have leadership team on it, or I lead by example. It just has a gray little kicking guy here. And so on the backs of all of our leadership team uniforms, they get this special logo. That way they can show everybody, look, I'm part of the leadership team, even if I'm not a black belt yet, or even if I'm not a chief instructor yet, right? Okay, so there's a huge phrase that I think is going to be very important for your leadership program. Of course, it is inspect what you expect. You must have some way of checking on those students in your leadership program to say, first off, I'm looking at you. You're doing an amazing job out there, and I'm watching you do this. And so this kind of gives you that reason to go back in and look. And guys, this is, I think, the meat of our program. And I hope this gives you some ideas here. First off, all of our leadership members have leadership binders. I was telling you a minute ago that all of our leadership members get worksheets during each of their classes. They sit down, they open up their binder. There's a lot of other stuff I'll go over in just a second, but they open up their binder, they get their worksheet for the day, they fill it out, then they slide it into a sleeve. We give them the sleeves for free because we want them to be organized, something else that their parents want. And that way they have that reference for later on. So everybody's got their own binder. And of course, that binder fills up an entire shelf. Where is it? It's on the floor, so all the students can see the names of all of our leadership members and how many there are, again, on display. We have a written test, and now I put it in quotes because if we have a 8-year-old, we've got one young man, he's amazing on the floor. I loved watching him grow, but he has severe dyslexia. And so taking a written exam is very difficult for him. So we do pull aside some of those students that are special needs or that are younger, and we have an instructor read out loud the questions and guide them through a conversation for the written test. All right. So something else to think about there if you've got those kind of students that you want to see them grow, but maybe a written exam is not the best way for them to display that. Pre and post class checklist before the classes that they are assigned to teach. I noticed somebody was putting that up there on the chat. These you assign your leadership members one class each week to come in and help with or to assist with. We have a pre assisting class and a post assisting class checklist that I'm going to share with you in just a moment to help them get in the right mindset and to reflect on how they did. The lesson worksheets, as I explained, praise sheets, again, something else that we do to help them get in the right mindset before their leadership class. They write down 3 praises they can use during the class they help teach. Could be something like, that was an amazing chamber. That was a really loud ki. I love how enthusiastic you are today. So we just have them write down 3 things that they can use in class for next week when they come in and teach. And then, of course, we have our in-class exam. So we've got the written test, and then we've got an in-class exam for them to show us what they've been working on and what they've learned throughout the past 10 to 12 weeks. And then, of course, like I said, our assigned classes for those leaders. We have a dry erase board that we have up on display that says who's leading which classes throughout the week. So all of these things work in tandem to help us inspect what they're doing as far as their leadership curriculum goes. All right, pre and post class checklists. So again, Dave Kovar, I don't remember exactly how much I took. I'm going to be honest with you. It was probably a lot of inspiration from his systems on this. Absolutely loved his creed. So we do say that. I want to give credit where credit is due on that one. But we have a pre-class checklist here where they have to read it out loud. Something to notice, it says, let's say number 3, I have read over my praises and I plan to use them today. Number 4, I have read the lesson plan and know how I'll be helping. So each of these things are retroactive statements, which means they cannot truthfully say them until they have done them. And so the way that they do this before they come in for their, or when they come in for their class to help teach during the week, they open up their binder, they read the pre-class checklist out loud, and each thing that they have not done yet, they need to go do, right? And then, of course, the very last one, I've recited the instructor creed to myself. I will teach this class, the most important class I'll ever teach. Patient, enthusiastic, I lead by example, which, by the way, my staff instructors also say that every single day at the daily 10 meeting. Get them in the right mindset. And then post-class reflection, the only one I really want to hone in on this, there's some questions that they do after they're done with their teaching of their class. They fill out a little sheet. We have all these questions on a printed off paper for them, and they just fill it out. But the last one is ask a level 3 or higher leader how you did today. Take in the praise, seek improvement, write down 3 sentences. What did you do well? What did you need to improve on? And how can you improve next time? And then they take that sheet that they fill out, and the next leadership lesson they come to, they hand that to the chief instructor to show them that they reflected properly on the class that they helped teach. I do feel like, honestly, that's a little bit of gold. If you guys don't have something like that, I would definitely start implementing a pre and or post-class reflection for those leadership members after they finish helping with a class. All right. So now let's talk about taking you from 4 to 5. All right, this is a little bit more. You guys are part of the Marshall Entrepreneurs Group. So I know that your thoughts are always on the business and on scaling and on getting to the point where you can leave on vacation and not have to stress or worry about it anymore. And so this is where taking your leadership team and converting them into staff is going to be beneficial here, right? So number 1, you got to have a playbook or the outdated SOP, Standard Operating Procedures book. You got to have something listed. I'm going to do a quick glance over. Next slide. I've got all of my stuff here on the left-hand side. This is 1 page out of, let's just be honest, a lot. All right. So I've got all this stuff listed out of everything that we do in our school. And then once you have the SOP or the playbook, you can work backwards and say, all right, I want them to know how to do all this stuff. So how am I going to check them on that? We use evaluations. And so the evaluations, again, flipping over the next slide, back and forth real quick. I have a staff evaluation sheet where I put the paper down in front of them. It has everything we expect them to do during the normal business day or week or month. And then they give themselves a number 1 to 5. How do they feel about it? And by the way, they give themselves the number and I just watch. And I'll be, okay, well, can you explain that? All right, explain that. Because I'll be honest, some of these guys, I feel like they got a 5 across the board and they put down a 3 or they put down a 4. And that's just because they don't feel confident with that. And so they grade themselves, and then we go back over it with them. And so this is another powerful tool for checking on how they feel about their training. And then, of course, once we get those evaluations back, we do quarterly training with the staff. Again, this is focused in on my staff now, not necessarily the leadership team. Your quarterly training should be based off of those evaluations. And if you're going to Maya events, you should be basing them off of the new stuff or things that you feel are weaknesses that you learned at a Maya event or any other kind of seminar you go to. Monthly, weekly, and daily checklists. Yes, we have our program director has a monthly checklist. Here's what I want you to do once per month. They have a weekly checklist. Here's what I want you to do once per week. They have a daily checklist. Here's what I need you to do every single day. Checklist, checklist, checklist. I'm going to be honest with you, between me and you as other school owners and possibly some upper level instructors, the best thing we ever did for our school, you ready for this? The best thing we ever did for our school is make a bad hire. Okay, take a breath. It sounds really weird, but we made a bad hire and it helped us go, all right, this person needs to be trained on this, needs to be trained on this, needs to be trained on this. So why am I telling you this? Because I want you to not be afraid to bring somebody else on board, okay? Because if it's a bad hire, there's a lot of other things. We have 90-day probation period, whatever, but it will help you find the gaps in your school that you need to fill in with training, okay? So I'm not telling you go make a bad hire, but if you do, it's okay. It will work out for the better, okay? So lots of stuff going on here. We got our training checklist. I already went over most of that. Okay, I think, what's my time? I think I did it. All right. So I would like for you real quick to take a moment on the worksheet, write down what are the next steps for your program. I know that Cris has been taking amazing notes over there. She already went over the first 7 steps that she had written down. So if she's got any more, she can share with us. And then where are you now? Where do you want to be? What are some new ideas that you have? Think about that. It does say Q&A on this slide, but I want to go one more before I do the Q&A. Here's my suggested further reading. Of course, The 5 Levels of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. Start with why. If you don't know what your why is, it's not going to help you get to the next level, guys. Simon Sinek, I'm a huge fan. The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, of course. Mindset, Carol Dweck. And Success Principles. By the way, Success Principles is kind of dry. If you haven't read that yet, I'd suggest getting audio, putting it up to 1.25 speed. But it is so packed full of information. Final thoughts. If you want to inspire, you got to give something to aspire to. It's your job to give those students something to aspire to and create a leadership program. The leadership program is not about martial arts, it's about the art of others. So use martial arts to help them grow that. And then, of course, your job is to provide a place for your team to grow, and they can't do that if you're standing in their way. All right. My chief instructor told me I needed to get out of the school because when I'm in here, he's not able to be his best because I take it over, right? It's not his school anymore. So get out of your team's way and let them do their thing.
Absolutely amazing, guys. Let's throw some ones in the chat box here for Mr. Hamm, because this, I mean, I told you he was going to over deliver. I'm pretty sure that is his middle name. That is officially your middle name now, Mr. Hamm, is over deliver. And we do have some time for a Q&A. And I'll go ahead and type his email in here, legacyma@gmail.com. So guys, you just drank from a fire hose right now, right? That's exactly what happened. And that's why we're going to make sure that you do get the replay. You do get, the workbook, everything that you need here. But if you do want to reach out to him, here is his email. You can reach him on Facebook Messenger as well. But amazing job, sir.
Thank you.
Let's see if there's any questions in here. Miss Woods, if we start a monthly leadership training with level 1, then next month we go to level 2. How do you handle people wanting to join the leadership, but they missed level 1 and now I've moved on to level 2 or beyond?
Okay, so you're talking about just clarifying, you're talking about the level of the leader themselves, right? So you say you did a monthly workshop for your level 1 leaders. They all graduated up. Now they're a level 2 leader. And now you got people who want to join in now, but they're a level 1. What are you going to do? Is that what you're asking?
You can go ahead and unmute, ma'am, if that would be easier.
Yeah, that helps tremendously. So same level of leader, but you have multiple lessons in that level. Maybe I worded it wrong, but they've missed the beginning level lessons. So then how do you handle people joining late? How do you cycle back around?
Okay, so I'm gonna over deliver again. Here we go. I'm gonna try to keep it condensed. So a couple suggestions. The first one is I like running the cycles because we accept applications the entire cycle, but we don't actually let them join until the beginning of a new cycle. But if you yourself, if your program is still based on the seminars or the workshop or boot camps, as I like to call them, then you kind of got to make a choice. I would suggest go ahead and moving forward with teaching everybody what it is that you're giving, and then either doing a separate seminar, a separate boot camp for those who are just now joining. Now you got two groups going, or you can combine them. I really, to be honest, I don't see a reason to hold back on that. Did that answer? Yeah.
All right, next one, Miss Bridget. What's the best way to handle students who struggle to get along with each other on the leadership team? So many teen boys.
Oh, all right. I love it. So if they this person, who's that? Bridget, if you wouldn't mind unmuting, because I have another question to follow up. Is this during the actual leadership class that you're running or the workshops you're running, or is this during the times they're coming in to help teach?
So this week we had an incident where these two boys, they're the same age, they're both only childs in their households, and their personalities just clashed, so it happened in a class that they were taking, not one that they were assisting in, not one that, they were showing up as the squad, but of course they wear their patches. And so they're setting an example for our other students when they start butting heads on the mat. They're fantastic in their roles as being on our leadership team. They've just kind of hit that point in puberty and in, life where the two of them can't really get along as friends. And it's starting to, flood over into what's happening on the mats in class. So basically it was one of them was, hey, you're going to be my sparring partner today because I'm going to put you in your place, sort of thing. And my director of our leadership team handled it beautifully. He brought the boys off the mat. He brought them over to the other side to talk. One of them took in the information, went back to class. Everything was great. The other one, straight up angry, ended up walking out the door, sort of thing. And so, I can only play mom in so many places.
Yeah. So obviously you got the regular tactics, separate them, put them on the other sides of the floor. But my biggest thing would be to pre-frame, have them in the right mindset before the regular class. This is something that's going to be coming up. And so have them read their instructor creed, all right? Have them go over, what kind of mindset should I have? And then give them in charge of two separate groups. Because if they're leadership, they're star students up front anyways, when they have the responsibility of, I've got to give the best example and help my team of 3 or 4 or 5 kids in class, that's going to put them in more of a leadership role instead of allowing them the freedom, I guess, to be conflicting with each other.
Do you do any probationary status periods if there is ongoing issues or anything like that, Mr.
We do.
Hamm?
We have some very specific, when they get their evaluations once a cycle, we do bring these things up in those evaluations. And it's just gotten to a point where, the boy who got very upset, he's had a hard hand in life. His dad committed suicide recently, and his mom is not really present. He lives with his grandparents. And so I think he's handling things very angrily a lot of the time. And I know that that's really outside of our realm of help at this point. He has to get help besides what we can provide. But when he's not experiencing that, he's a really great kid. And I want the world for him. But it is starting to kind of, because again, this wasn't even in a leadership role. This was just one of their classes that they were attending, that they were participating in. But we're starting to see, when you have a dozen 13-year-old boys in a room together. It's just, there's a
Yeah,
lot.
I do feel like a lot of that will be alleviated if you start giving them the star
I know,
positions inside their own
that was
class.
brilliant.
So,
I loved that. I
Yeah.
never had thought, hey, make them read these things before they go to class.
Yeah.
And so thanks for pointing it out. I appreciate that.
I love it. Mr. Garcia, how much do you charge more for your leadership classes? Mr. Hamm, like you said in the beginning, this is a part of the master's program. So this is the Maya model of having a basic program, Black Belt Club program, master's program, and it's part of the master's club program. So it's tied into the upgrade, the Maya model, the differences between if you're doing like a monthly payment or option D, it's typically a $25 difference between basic to elite, and then an additional $25 difference between elite and masters. So that's kind of the structure for that. Oh, Mr. Walker, what's your salary structure like? I mean, this could be an entire other webinar as well. And are you doing the pathway, sir, Mr. Hamm? Are you guys doing the pathway?
Not exactly, no.
Okay, so we're going to go over a couple of minutes. I've got a 5-minute max. So for those of you that got a jet, completely understand, but we will go a little bit over here. If you want to quickly kind of explain what does that salary structure look like to be able to, open location number 2 and then on to number 3 and things like that.
Okay, I'll go real fast. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we start hiring at 16 years old. At 16, we start them off at $12 an hour. And then as they progress, we go up pretty much each year that they stick on board as an hourly, it goes up a dollar per hour, depending on the valuations, everything else. When they move up to head instructor or a chief instructor, we have head instructors for any school over, our structure is any school over 300 students. We have a head instructor and a chief instructor. Both of those are salary, and our program director is salary. And so those ones are 40,000 for the salary position, and then our chief instructor of the 350 student school, I believe he made 56 last year. But that's
great careers, right? This isn't some, hey, we're going to pay you per class kind of model, guys, right? Awesome. Okay, we got a couple more questions here. Where, when, and how do I implement a weekly leadership class for training? Should it be weekly or monthly? You guys do weekly, right?
We do. Ours is Friday, 6:50. And we put that right before, so it's right after sparring and right before adult classes on Friday evenings. If you're running an ABC schedule, that means on A days, it's curriculum based, B days, it's program based, and C days, it's specialty based. So all of our weapons classes, kicks and tricks, sparring, all that stuff, and leadership are all done on Fridays and Saturdays. So my suggestion is look into ABC scheduling. If you don't know what that is, talk to anybody in Maya. We can help you out. And then I would put it kind of in the later times on a Friday.
Awesome. Another kind of, leadership team, very chatty, especially the teen boys, kind of seeing, seeing this multiple times. Any suggestions on correction? They won't do it if I'm in the office or on the floor, only when I'm not there and my program director is running the place. Today, for example, I'm not in the office. Those dang teenage boys, man.
I love the teenage boys because, like I said, those are the ones we're looking at to hire. Teenage girls too, of course. But when it comes to martial arts, that's the group that you want that little bit of fire. So you got to give them more responsibilities. If they're out there goofing off or biting each other's heads off, they got to have some responsibility. Hey, you're in charge of these 3 other guys today. You 3 are followers today, but next week you get to be leaders of this group. So by giving them more responsibility, that'll help them not have time to bicker and argue or whatever it is that they're doing. And they're going to feel more valuable.
I love it. Somebody asked about the difference between the A, B, C. I just posted that. A is curriculum, B is theme, C is specialty. Again, Maya teaches this in our Core 4 program, which our next session is actually starting next Wednesday, May 3rd. It's 4 weeks in a row, hour-long sessions with Mr. Metzger. Doesn't get much better than that. And he goes over the 4 core Maya system, which are pricing structure, right? So how he is pricing his leadership into this, your schedule, your upgrade programs, and then doing mass enrollments with the community events. Shoot me a DM, guys, if you're interested. I can get you that link. Last question for Ms. Hamlin. At what point do you start to introduce career opportunities that your school offers, and how much detail do you go into it as far as pay structure? At what point would you hire someone out of the leadership team?
Yeah, so we hire at 16, with the exception of my daughter because she's special, but don't tell anybody that. But we show it off at every graduation. And this is what I love about, like I was telling you, the integration. We have our leadership team come up there with the staff, with the chief instructors. They're all lined up. We introduce each of them, especially if they're a new one. But the biggest thing is we go over, hey, this is our leadership team. Their next step is to become a paid instructor like these guys. And then these guys' next step is to become a chief instructor of a legacy school. So they're getting blasted with this, at least the parents, at least once a cycle at the graduation that everybody's coming to anyways. And so they know their 9-year-old can go through the leadership program. We introduce the pay and everything to them, like pretty much at that point. When you join leadership, your job is to get to being hired as a legacy team member later on anyways. And then at 16, we hire, and then so on and so forth. But they get it every quarter.
Awesome. All right, guys. Amazing session. He totally over delivered. Give us to the end of business today. We'll get the replay out. Can we get some ones in the comments for Mr. Hamm? I mean, guys, this was free. We should have charged for it, Mr. Hamm. I'm kidding.
I know.
Guys, it reminds me of my favorite quote. You know, you can have everything in this life that you want as long as you help others get what they want. And I mean, that's literally what this leadership program is doing as well for your students. So thank you so much for hopping on. Amazing job. And we'll be back with another free webinar next month. Everybody have a great day. Mr. Hamm, awesome job, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.